All right, so the next thing I'd like to do is I'd like to start styling. And I think to do that, let's take a look really fast. This is the form that we currently have. Okay, and so I'd like to start styling so that it first of all, that it doesn't take up the entire width of the page because that's unnecessary. Something I think that's nice about a lot of forms is if they don't need to be gigantic, then they shouldn't be, right? And so let's go ahead and let's start messing around with some of that. So let's look here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to my double pane again, and I think let's try vertical split and see how we feel about that. Let's grab our main CSS. And then I can probably sort of collapse that a little bit, and then that might be helpful. Now, the other thing I could do, let's see what happens if we go to horizontal. Yeah, I might be happier with horizontal in this particular case. We'll see. Okay, so right now what we've got is we've got the body. There's not a whole lot going on with the body except I've got a font color. I've got an H1, right? So, and I've got a special class. So I need to go ahead and address form. So let's make something for form because that's the name of this tag that's highlighted up here. So let's go ahead and make something just for form. And one of the first things that I said is that I didn't like that it took up the entire page. So let's make the form take up less space. So we'll say that the width is, let's do something like 40% and see what happens. Okay, I'm going to save it. I'm going to go over here, hit refresh, and there. My form, I think my form can handle being a little bit smaller. And then if we want to make it centered, we can do that. So let's jump over here, back in brackets, and we're going to say margin auto, like that, and save it, and then we can refresh the page. And so it's centered now. I think that I like that a little bit better. And then we can always go back and center this as well. All right, so let's do that over here with this H1. I'll come down and I'll just say text align center, something really simple like that. Okay, let's jump back over, refresh it. Okay, so that's a little bit better. I mean, we could have extra space. I'm not gonna worry about that. Really, my main concern is styling the stuff with the form. So I think one of the things also that you can do with a form so that you can get like really good immediate gratification whenever you're testing stuff is let's just right click this and let's inspect it. And we can also kind of mess around by inspecting stuff. So if I click on the actual form itself, right, you can see that I've got this 40% margin auto. I can also do, let's put a border around it. Let's just see what happens whenever I do that. We'll say 1 pixel solid. We'll just do black, I guess, for now. All right, and then it puts that that border around it. But let's say that I want a border radius like this, and let's do something that's like maybe about 8 pixels for the border radius, and we can give it plenty of padding as well. So let's say padding. Let's see what happens at about 2M, right? And so this is starting to look maybe a little bit more like something that we could work with in terms of a more interesting shape. And let's bring that back up again. And in fact, let's turn I was going to say turn the volume down, turn the brightness up, I guess, for this border so that it's not so heavy duty. We could also monkey around with background color. So let's say background, and you can already see that it's changing whenever we give it some color. And I went ahead and I just settled on Alice Blue, not because that's what I think is going to be the right thing, but because I can click on that and I can do a test and let's see if we were to drag it into a grayer area. And then we can make some of these field sets a little bit brighter. I think maybe what I might like is sort of this darker color, and we can stick with that. And that's obviously way too dark, right? But one of the things that we can also do is we could mess around with the field set. But if we think that we kind of like this, one of the things that you can always go and do as long as you haven't clicked to add something like a new rule right here, you can always just click here and then you could do a select all for your styling. We can copy that and we can jump over into brackets, right? I can select all of this and just paste to replace it. Okay, and it should be exactly the same, but with your new, you know, rules that you were testing out added. We can save that. Come back over here and let's just hit refresh. And then it actually took those and it saved those. And I think what I'm going to also do, I'm going to jump over here and make this dock on the right, since the form is a little bit smaller. Well, I guess that's what happens though, if this is one way to test also, if you don't like the 40% business. So maybe what we could do is, like, let's say what happens at 50%. It's a little bit wider so we can see a little bit better. Yeah, let's just see what that happens. We may come back and change that again later. But if I click on field set, then I can also start to mess around and see interactively how that might change too. And I don't have a style for field set, so maybe we should, before we start just adding stuff here, like maybe we should actually go into brackets and let's make a couple of styles. We'll say we're going to add something for field set, like this. We should also maybe go ahead and add something for legend, because I know for a fact that this legend, we're going to need to do something to style it as well. So we can go ahead and just leave a placeholder there. You know, we're probably going to need something for label. Let's copy that. All right. We can have a placeholder there so we can do something with it. We definitely need something for input. Absolutely, we need that. So let's do that. And let's just start with that for right now. I mean, there's some other things that we definitely probably want. For instance, I think text area was another one that was different. And then we also have, yeah, that'll do it for right now. We can come back and we can deal with text area later. I'm not gonna add it just yet. But if I save this and then I jump over here again and I refresh the page, one of the things that I can do is if I select field set, now what you see that's kind of nice is that in my HTML you see that it has an empty field set that I can just start typing in. I don't have to click this little plus symbol and have a separate inspector style sheet. And then I can just mess around with this and have a little bit more confidence that it's going to behave the way that I want to whenever I go and copy all the styles off of this temporary style sheet and paste them into my real style sheet. So let's do a couple of things. First of all, let's change the background color of the field set area. Let's do this, and I'm gonna try something and see what this blue color looks like. I think that might be kind of interesting, possibly. You don't have to do it that way, but you can. And one of the things that you're going to notice right off the bat is that right up here, this actually, the default styling, it makes the legend, that's what this is, it's the legend, it sort of cuts it in half. So if you like it that way, then that's fine. But the problem is that you're going to have to figure out how to span that somehow in some way, shape, or form. I also feel like this field set for sure needs some padding. So if I do padding, let's just see what happens at 2M. And then we start to have some other fussy stuff happening here, but don't worry, we haven't done anything yet at all to style any of these inputs or any of these things, right? So that's okay. And I do think, as I mentioned before, I think that we should definitely come over here for the form and let's change the width. I think 40 is way too small. Let's try like 60% and see what happens whenever we start working with that. Even maybe 50%. Yeah, let's do 60 and let's work with that. And we come back to field set and you'll notice that the padding, it seems like it might be a little bit bigger at the top than it is elsewhere. So what you could do is you could maybe see what 1M is, and we can do the shorthand so that it's basically, oops, let's type that correctly. It's basically 1M at the top, but it's 2M everywhere else, and I think that looks a little bit better. Maybe it's a little more even. And then the other thing that we probably need to do is we need to give margins in between these things, because they're very, very tight together, and so we could do something for margin. And for right now, let's just see what if we do a top and bottom. I think I might be okay with the left and right here. So for the top and bottom, let's just see what happens at 1M and auto for the left and right. And that separates it a little bit, but maybe not enough. Let's see what 2M does. And that might be better. It depends on what we do with our legend. I'm not sure. That might be a little bit too much. And the other thing too is let's give this a border radius so that it is not so sharp on the edges. So do border radius and see about maybe around 5 pixels or so. That might be a little bit better. And let's give it a border color. I don't know if the, oops, yeah, border color. I'm going to try something that's kind of a little bit darker. And let's do 1 pixel solid. All right. And so this is starting to shape up a little bit better, right? And then the other thing too is if you wanted to have a drop shadow, so it felt like it was floating on top of this just a little bit, you could do that. You could say box shadow. So it's box shadow, and I usually like to start mine on the 0 offset so that the light source is coming directly from top, pushing down so that the left and right is even. And we could maybe try to do a 2 pixel offset so that it comes out from the back a little bit more, maybe a 10 pixel blur, and then maybe, I don't know, another 5 pixel spread or something. Oh, that's a little bit heavy. We can come back and fix that. And we can do RGBA, and let's make it based off of black, but let's do maybe 0. See what 2.5 is. I don't know, that might be okay. It's a little heavy. Maybe we could do 1.5, something like that. This might be a good starting place though, and I don't know about this bright, super bright blue color. We'll see what happens. And then you might want to also go ahead and style your legends so that they don't look so weird up here. So you could click on legend and then it pops up this empty legend for us that we had here. Okay, and let's go ahead and click in here. And first things first, I think I want to get the background color squared away so that I can actually see what's going on with it. And I've kind of picked like this sort of yellowish orange color, and you may totally want to do yours differently, and that's totally fine. All right, so let's get a background color in there, and then another thing I'd like to do is put some padding on it. So let's try maybe, let's see what 1M is. Oh, that's a little bit too much. So let's try maybe half of that, like 0.5. Something else too is that all these other things have a border radius, so I think I'm going to be consistent with that. So let's do border radius, and let's maybe stay around 5 pixels or so. Starting to shape up a little bit. We can put a border around it, or you know what, maybe let's just do it, see what happens with a drop shadow. I can actually, if I don't want to have to retype it, I can go to this field set and I can just copy this box shadow rule right here. I can just copy that into my clipboard, go over here to legend, and then I can paste it. And I think that that looks pretty good, and it's kind of similar, right? And so, so far we've got just the basics set up, and already it's starting to look like something a little bit better. Something else that I'd like to do, I think, is I might want to see what this looks like with uppercase letters. So let's do a text transform. Okay, and that's the thing that where you can make something uppercase or lowercase or whatever. And I think I'll stick with that, and I kind of like that, I think. And we can mess around with the font size and see if the font size is okay. Let's just see what 1M looks like. Let's see what 1.1 looks like. That might be a bit big for right now. Let's just leave it at 1M for now. Maybe we'll come back and adjust it. Actually, let's just get rid of it. And then later, if we need to adjust it, we can adjust it. And that might be a good place to kind of just start with this. And now we can maybe move into dealing with some of these things like these inputs. Actually, you know, I think before we do that, I think I might want to see what this looks like at 100%. so it's not just off to the side like that. Let's see if we do, let's do a width and let's say 100%. And then if we did that, I think we need to align the text probably in the center. So let's say center. And I don't know if that's any better or not. It might not be, but let's just kind of go with that for the moment. That yellow might be a little bit too bright. We can probably drop it down. Oh, that's not bright enough. Yeah, you could kind of do something in this range, I guess. I think I might like that color a little bit better. And also maybe it needs a background, or excuse me, a border like this field set had. Let's try this. Let's copy that. Let's jump over here to this legend and say border. And I think I like it better having the border. And it might even be okay if it was just a tiny bit darker. Not too dark though. Like somewhere in there possibly. And so I think I might be good with that as a kind of a stopping place before we move on to styling like the radio buttons and the inputs and things like that. So to get all of this stuff that we just did into our style sheet, because I didn't click this plus button to add a new style rule, all I have to do is click where it says main.css, and I can grab all of my changed rules by doing this and right clicking and, well, actually I can't right click, it's a keyboard command. So on a Mac it would be Command A, on Windows it's Control A, select all while I'm clicked inside of here. Command C will copy, or I can right click and copy, that's another option. Right, and then I can jump over here into brackets. I can do a select all, so Command A or Control A, right click and paste. Right, and it put the new legend and the new field set rules in there, and I'm going to save it. I'm going to double check and make sure. If I close this up and then I hit refresh, it did in fact keep all of my rules, and so I'm happy about that. Okay, I think that this this form is getting a bit wide, so something else that I probably would do is I put a maximum width and a minimum width on it. But we can do that in the next video when we get to some more styling stuff.